I'm Maddy May, your Royal International Miss Australia Pacific, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Hey everyone, it's Adrian from the Pageant Project, and I'm here with Royal International Miss Australia Pacific,
Good
Maddy
reading.
May. Maddy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this.
Did you want to tell everyone where we're at? Because this is your secret spot. And I was telling
Not
Maddy
really.
before the interview that this is a little bit different. I'm normally in front of a beach or the water somewhere, which I'm not going to complain about, but this is different. So tell the audience where we're at.
We're in Milson's Point, and we're in my favourite little secret spot, so shh.
So you're actually not going to tell them because you
No.
don't want them to find.
No.
That's so considerate of you. So we're not going to tell you where we're at. Good luck finding us. So Maddy, to begin with, I guess tell us what your pageant experience has been up to date. I know it might be really difficult in terms of like it's really, really, really long. But run us through, I guess, maybe how you got involved in pageantry to begin with and what motivates you to this day.
I got involved in pageantry, it was a fluke. A friend of mine was offered a pageant it was called the CM Model Search. It was run by Miss World. And I thought, what the hell, give it a go. Why not? And I did, and I didn't place, I didn't do very well, but I had the contact, and I used that contact to get me into the Miss World preliminary finals.
Right.
From there, I actually got into the New South Wales finals, which was my first experience doing any sort of pageant. So it was very, very new, and I actually beat the girl who won the CM Model Search.
Wow, okay.
She didn't represent New South Wales.
Yeah.
She didn't continue from the prelims, and it was a really successful moment for me because I felt a little bit accomplished that I had beat someone who had previously beaten me.
How long ago was this? Do you remember what year?
Oh my goodness. I think that was 3 years ago, 4
Right.
years ago now. So it's been a while that I've been in the industry, but for me it's been a lot of personal growth, and that's why I've continued to do it, because from when I started doing pageants, being dyslexic and having really bad eyesight, I had no self-confidence. From a very young age, I was told that I wasn't very good, that I should drop out of school, that I wasn't very intelligent, and I didn't believe in myself. So through doing pageants, I've gone on this personal journey to, first of all, be able to have a conversation with someone and look them in the eyes, which I wasn't able to do a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And to be able to believe in myself. So for me, it's not so much about what I've done and what pageants I've been in. It's about the personal growth. And I keep kind of thinking about, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, what I was like back there and how I have changed. And not about what I've won and what I've accomplished.
Sure.
Because this personal growth is far more valuable than any title, sash, or achievement.
Of course. I will say, so we talked a little bit about before, just us two, about the school that you were at, and we won't mention the school. But because you just mentioned in passing that you were told not very nice things at school, and that came from the teaching staff.
Yes.
So can you just give us a bit of background as to exactly what you were told? Because to me, just hearing that, being told by a teacher still boggles my mind. So what were you told in school?
I was told many times just to drop out, essentially, that I wasn't intelligent enough to do it. While I was going through year 12, I had a lot of personal things going on. My parents got a divorce. My father was in and out of rehab facilities because he was an alcoholic with depression and anxiety. So I had a lot of personal things going on, and I'm pretty strong and I was able to deal with it, but it was almost like my teachers had an excuse as to how to pressure me not to continue. I think that...
Why do you think they wanted to do that? Why not support you? Which is what I would naturally, I think a human being would naturally do, someone struggling, support them. Why would they try and get rid of you? That sounds
Because
silly.
being dyslexic, I didn't get good marks. And for me to get 50% in an exam was very difficult. And that's why I haven't gone on to do a degree. I did a TAFE degree, which again, same thing happened. I was told not to talk in class because everything I say is apparently irrelevant. I was told to drop out. I was told just, to do other courses of a lower nature because I was not smart enough to do it.
So everyone was just trying to get rid of you, basically, it sounds like. Mm-hmm. So how do you make it through? So, I mean, that's not a good thing for most people's confidence. So,
like I said to you before, we're a product of our reaction to our experiences. And for me, I've had these experiences in my life, but they're a driving force for me to prove them wrong. That I can do better than they think that I can. That I am bigger and better and I'm going to achieve more. And I'm going to prove that to them. But I don't actually have the details of my school to be invited back to the reunions because I'm not interested in being around anyone from that school.
Why would you want to go back?
Exactly. There were girls that were taking days off school to get spray tans. That was more important than their education. And funnily enough, I had one teacher who I bumped into accidentally at an event, and she said to me that I was probably going to be the most successful person at that school. And she knew that from the minute that she met me.
In your year?
Oh, no, she was a teacher.
Wow.
And she said from the beginning she knew that I was going to be successful. But I think it's all about your motivation, all about how you push yourself and who you want to become. We are our own hindrance. And if we continue to motivate ourselves and push ourselves past those hindrances, then we can continue to prosper.
Were you always like that? I mean, having that sort of a viewpoint on, your classmates being mean to you, unfortunately, that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But teachers saying stuff like that to me, because I certainly felt like I respected my teachers. And then to have someone who hopefully you respect say something like that to you.
It's quite ironic though, because when those teachers that were saying that to me when I was out of school, I was studying a diploma of youth work. And you would think that youth workers who have been in the industry for 40 years would want to promote you and push you because that's who they are.
Yeah.
That's who they're trained to be and that's who they consider themselves as. But they weren't like that at all towards me. In fact, I was told I was never going to get a career and it was going to take me at least 5 years before I could get any shred of maturity to be able to make a career in youth work.
And what actually happened? Because I know that you ended up with a career very, very quickly.
Yeah, so while I was working, while I was studying at TAFE, I ended up moving into youth work, running my own youth centre at 18 from the ground up. So when the kids came into the centre, from helping them do their homework to organising food and running all the activities, I did everything from the ground up.
At the age of 18?
At the age of 18.
So if your school, not that you're friends with them, but the people who were in your year or your teachers saw you now, do you think they would be surprised with the difference between then and now? Or do you think that you're actually still the same person?
To be honest, school makes me insecure and makes me go quiet. I remember once I dropped my pencil case in front of someone and they spoke to me in a baby voice because I hadn't spoken in class for at least 6 months.
Wow.
Because I was so insecure and so uncomfortable in that situation. In one of my classes, one of my classmates made a comment that she wanted to throw a party to celebrate that she'd dealt with me for an entire year. And the teacher agreed on that. And they were happy to throw a party after the entire year of dealing with me. I'm serious.
This is next. I mean, you hear about bullying, but this is next level. And then the teachers chiming in rather than saying, no, that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
They're joining in.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe a bit off topic, but how do you feel about the education system in general? Because I'll preframe this by saying I don't have a high opinion of it.
Neither do I.
Because I feel that the job of school is to get you ready for real life and, teach you to be healthy, teach you to be wealthy, like have a meaningful career, teach you hopefully to be wise, how to look after yourself, be happy, and I just feel fundamentally fails on almost all those fronts.
I
So
agree.
how do you feel about school?
I agree. I think that our society, not our society, but our education system is so outdated, and it is so, I don't even know how to, it's very irrelevant. You know, what does Pythagoras' theorem have to do with society? How is it going to help you?
Yeah.
What is it going to do? And why are we being forced to learn things? Or even have teachers who are willing to accept that most students aren't good at maths or science or, you know, other particular things that you're forced to study. And they know that students aren't going to be good at it, yet they continue to enforce it. And when you actually look at statistics, people who go to private schools are less likely to go to college and university and be successful, because I went to a private school, but because we're force-fed information. When it's given to us on a piece of paper, you know, the essays that we need to write in our HSC, our creative writings. I seriously had my English teacher write out my creative writing for me for my HSC.
That actually doesn't surprise me. I've worked with young people going into year 12 as a tennis coach.
Yeah.
They memorize their essays. They paid someone hundreds of dollars, I think about $100 or $200 an hour, to write their essay. And then when it came to writing the essay in the HSC, they just had memorized it. Whereas the point of essay writing, as I was told, was critical thinking. They weren't thinking.
No.
They were regurgitating.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that I do have a lot of respect for most teachers. I think a lot of them are just dealing with a broken system.
I agree.
There's always bad eggs in any situation.
Yeah.
But I just think because we're made to go through standardized tests and school's completely irrelevant most of the time, that it's just, I mean, as you can tell, I don't have a high opinion of school. But to bring it back to pageantry for a sec, so tell me more about the Royal International Miss system, because it's a system that, frankly, until I started talking to you, I hadn't heard anything about. So what, in your mind, sets it apart from the other pageants that you've competed in?
So it's a very supportive system. First of all, they don't actually throw a massive pageant to find the competitors. Erin, the director, is very picky about who she wants to work with. She has such a high standard of who she wants. She knows most people in the industry, and she managed to contact who she wanted when she wanted, and got in, I think it's 12 of us to represent Australia from memory. But there's a lot more to it than just beauty. It's intelligence. It's got a very high philanthropic aspect. Aspect to it. But also it's about being yourself and being true to yourself. There's no focus on being fit. There's no focus on fashion, and it's more about who you are as a person, who you want to be perceived as. And if you win, you actually get a scholarship into a university. There are 2 titles that you can win. There is the international Miss title, Ms. For each division, and then there's also the role model title. So if you are someone that does heaps of appearances, if you're someone that people aspire to be, you have to write an essay and do a few other things, and it all goes towards points to potentially win the role model section as well.
Wow, that is very different.
It is.
I've never heard of an essay in a pageant before.
Yeah, so there are actually you can write essays to get funding as well, and they'll help you fund the pageant. It's a very, very different system to anything else that I've competed in, and it's a lot more fundamentally about you as a person, as opposed to your outside beauty.
So what are the sort of qualities that you said? Erin's the director, isn't she?
Yes.
What are the sort of qualities that she is looking for in a contestant? I mean, obviously you must embody them if she picked you, but what do you think she's actually looking for?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think she's been in the industry for a very long time. She's very, very intelligent, and she is very successful. And she never really put down on paper exactly what she was looking for. I think she had a mental note of what she wanted and kind of went for that. But from what I can see, all the girls are a very high caliber. So I feel very happy and excited to be part of that.
And you said there are 12?
From memory, yes.
Okay, so who are the different 12? Not in terms of names, but I mean, I guess the divisions. So what are the different divisions?
So there's 2 in the Ms division, 2 in the Miss. So I'm Miss Australia Pacific. There's another lady who's Miss Australia. There's a teen division, a pre-teen, a junior, and I think something like a really little one. I can't think of the name, but there's a little girl who is 5.
And when's the actual competition?
In July.
In July. And where is it being held?
Ohio.
In Ohio?
Yes.
What do you know about Ohio so far? We just bumped into we bumped into, when we were setting up for the interview, you were jumped by, well, not jumped. We're in the most secluded spot you could possibly find around here. And the crown it's like drawing mosquitoes
magnetic.
through this bunch of lovely American tourists. So do you know anything about Ohio?
There's a Disneyland, and that's all I know.
And that's all that's important, probably.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you know the details in terms of the competition, what you'll be asked to do? So you said it's quite different from the other systems you've been in. So how does a competition run? Like what are the different things that you'll be judged on?
They haven't released that yet. They're still deciding everything, but what I know is that I need to do a fun fashion, an interview, and an evening gown.
Right.
Now the rest are all optional, so I can choose if I want to be a part of the role model program. I can choose if I want to be a part of a program called Purple Passion and, buy a purple outfit and wear that on a stage. There are multiple different optionals that I can choose, which gives you more option to be on stage for the judges to see you more. Now through doing that gives you a higher chance of potentially winning the crown because people would see you more. But again, it's all an optional thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite section? I mean, you must have a favorite section of pageants.
My favorite section would have to be interview. I love showing my personality because there are a lot of layers to me. I'm not just who I appear to be on the outside. There are a lot more, especially being a youth worker. I went into youth work because I was able to empathize with almost anybody because of the experiences that I've had in my life. And for me, that was empowering. And it was a gift that I had that not many other people had. And I like to share that with people. I like to help people and I like to promote people. So I like to show who I am as a person because I know that always comes out because I have a crazy personality.
Tell on topic of being crazy, walk us through your crazy life. I know that you only just got a calendar. Which honestly,
sorry.
She ran her life without any sort of scheduling. I'm like, how do you do that? They gave me anxiety.
Yeah, because I got the date wrong for the interview.
Yeah, you thought it was Wednesday.
Yeah, sorry.
That doesn't matter. But give people an insight into what an average week in your life looks like, or the different facets.
Oh my goodness, it really depends how tired I am that week.
There's coffee for that.
Yeah, there is coffee for that. But I kind of put my mental health and myself first. So I gauge how I'm feeling and then I have a bunch of events which I can choose to or not go to. And depending on how exhausted I am, I gauge that.
Well, give us an idea of a crazy week then. So a week where you felt up to it and you went for everything. What did that week look like? Well,
I work full time as well. And last week I went to an event every single night and did photo shoots on my days off. So yeah.
Okay. All right. In terms of where you see yourself going, I mean, you're only 22. You've got, hopefully, a long and illustrious life ahead of you. Where do you see yourself heading? Do you plan out 5 years, 10 years? So do you have an overall direction?
I guess I have key, I would say points or key achievements that I want to accomplish.
Okay.
As in goals. So I know that in the next maybe 5 years I want to go back to being a youth worker.
Okay.
But right now I'm putting myself first. And that's why I love pageants, is that I'm able to get that youth worker side out of me and help people while putting my love of fashion first as well, and modeling and everything else that I've been doing since I was young. But I play everything by ear. My last international pageant, I was called a day and a half before and told I have a day and a half to pack, get my things together and get on a flight. And I won an international title. So I think...
That's not bad.
Yeah.
A day and a half to prepare. Everyone else is like, I need 4 weeks, 4 months to prepare.
Yeah, there were people that had 6 months to prepare, and then there's me with a day and a half till I have to get on a flight. I was there for 3 weeks, and I think there was 7 events that I had to prepare for.
Wow.
And I managed to pull it all together. And I'm someone that is really good at doing things last minute, doing things on a whim. And right now, I'm exploring everything in my career. I've started coaching.
Pageant coaching?
Yeah, pageant coaching. I've started styling pageants. I've started doing makeup and hair for pageants. And I've kind of just been dabbling into a bit of everything and figuring out what I want to do and where I want to achieve, because you know, you can be good at everything but a master at nothing. And I want to figure out what I want to be a master at and where I want to go. But this also gives me, you know, a future career as well, because I'm not going to look like this forever.
Well, none of us do.
Exactly.
Age gracefully. The modelling side of it, I know that you started, what you said, when you were 14?
Yes.
So you've been doing it for 8 years at this point. There are a lot of pageant girls who want to dabble in modelling, maybe more than dabble, who knows. What sort of advice would you have about getting into the modelling industry? Because it frankly can be a very scary place, potentially dangerous place, if you don't know what to look for, and not everyone is looking out for your best interests. So what sort of advice would you have for someone who has had some pageantry experience and now is maybe going, I'd like to give modelling a go, see what happens?
2 things. One, always bring someone with you when you're going to a photo shoot, when you're going to a runway, anything at all. If you don't know the person you're shooting with, always bring someone with you. Second thing, sit down with a friend, a family member, or even by yourself and write down who you are as a person, your goals, your morals. Because when you do modeling, it's very easy to blur the lines when you're offered money. And you don't want to lose who you are as a person because of you've been offered $500 or $5,000 or however much it is. You want to stay true to who you are. You want to maintain those goals, and you want to be able to look back at yourself in 10 years' time and go, I stayed true to me. Whoever that is. If that is someone who is more artistic and is into potentially doing nude photos, by all means go for it. But that's not something that I ever chose to do.
I guess it's important for them to decide, as you said, writing it down so you remember, I guess, who you are. But I think setting that for yourself before money is sort of offered is a big, so you sort of thought about it beforehand, and if you want to do it, then you want to do it. But I guess in terms of also rejection, I saw a post that I think a young model put up just the other day, and she had reposted someone who talked about modeling. You just got to get used to rejection. I think a pageantry is exactly the same as well, right? So how do you deal with rejection? Because I'm assuming not everything goes your way all the time.
No.
So how do you deal with it?
I wouldn't say that there's any way to deal with it. You just accept it and move on. But I think it's a really important life skill to have, to be able to deal with rejection and to be able to move forward from things. And I think modeling has actually given me the ability to be able to take feedback, criticism, to be rejected, and to have a tough work environment and to be able to
persevere.
Yeah, persevere through that, because it's not as easy as it seems just in normal life careers. And modeling has allowed me to be able to be stronger in a work environment, to be able to put myself, my morals, my self-respect first, but also to be able to deal with criticism, feedback, and notes that people have, because there's no such thing as perfection. And when we accept that, we learn that we just need to take on all the criticism, feedback and notes that we can to better ourselves.
And in terms of where to start, I mean, some people would go to an agent, maybe. Some people will start on Instagram and look to build from there. Do you have any tips as to where the best place to start would be, like the first action steps to take? Would it be Instagram, agent, or?
I would say contact photographers, do some TFP work.
Okay. And TFP stands?
Time for print. So it's essentially working with a photographer, gauging if you enjoy modeling, and there is no monetary transfer involved.
But you said bring someone with you.
Exactly.
That's hugely important. Can't overstate that.
Always bring someone with you. Or do it in a public place. If you don't have someone that you can bring with you, do it in a public place.
Yeah.
That way you know that if anything happens, there are people watching you at the same time. But yeah, just give it a go, because you can't commit yourself to a career unless you've given it a go first.
Yeah.
So yeah, contact photographers, friends. Maybe a friend can take some photos for you. There are Facebook groups that are full of photographers and models.
Right.
Maybe even contact a model that you admire and see if you can come along to their photo shoot and learn from them.
Yeah. I guess a lot of the pageant girls themselves would have modelling experience as well. You could reach out to them.
Most definitely.
What about downtime?
Downtime?
Do you have any? Which I guess the answer is no. Because I was going to ask the second question, what do you do with it? But if you don't have any downtime, then I don't need to ask you the second part. So do you have, what hobbies to sort of detox and de-stress?
Yeah.
What do you do that's just random?
That's random? I love nature. I love going for walks, clearly, because I love this place. But I just like being around people, and modeling is what kind of detoxes me and refreshes me as well. It's my love, it's my passion, and whenever I'm bored or, ready for a change, I do a big photo shoot.
We'll go into the final 10 questions in a second.
Yeah.
Before we go into that, this doesn't sound like a very optimistic question, but if you died tomorrow,
yes.
right? Hopefully not, right?
Yes.
Knock on wood. What would you like people to say about you at your funeral? How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as someone who was true to themselves, as someone who was humble, and someone who was inspiring. And that's who I want to be. I want to be humble and I want to be inspiring, which is why I do pageants. I want to touch as many people as possible, and that's why I chose mental health as my advocacy, because this conversation we were having earlier, there is no such thing as someone who doesn't struggle with some sort of mental health.
Exactly.
Whether it's having a bad day, whether it's having a bad week, or whether it's having depression. And sometimes we all just need someone to make our day a little bit happier and better.
And it's amazing, and with the crown and the sash, I wouldn't have believed this until I've seen it so many times. Like just 5-10 minutes ago, this can literally just make someone say that. There was you were telling me the story about, I think it was a woman that I think it was an Indigenous woman. She just, was she wearing, you gave her the sash to wear for a bit?
So what happened is I went to do an appearance at a women and children's refuge centre for Indigenous people. And I came in, I was just sitting with this lovely lady. She looked a little bit upset, but I wasn't really sure. It was a little bit ambiguous as to what was going on. And I was just having a chat to her. And then the lady who was running the centre came out. I explained who I was, and she was a little bit shocked.
Yeah.
Then the lady who we're talking about that was sitting down that I was having a conversation with, asked if she could put it on, and I obviously was happy to help go along with it. And the lady who ran the centre pulled me aside towards the end and said that she was so grateful that I attended that refuge that day, because she had come in that morning, she had left her husband and taken her kids out of the relationship and the house, and that I'd turned her day around from being incredibly sad to incredibly happy just from seeing this crown. And realistically, a crown is really just a piece of plastic and metal.
Exactly.
But it has the ability to make someone happy.
Yeah, evidently, with everyone around us stopping to stare. So before we get into the final 10 questions, what are the best social media platforms to get you on? And whatever you say, I will subtitle below in case you have something that's really hard to spell. You can go straight to that camera there.
So I've got a Royal International Miss Facebook and Instagram page. It's just Maddy May, Royal International Miss Australia Pacific from memory. And I've got my normal Instagram and Facebook accounts, which is just Maddy May.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Final 10 questions.
Yes, ask me.
We'll get into the pageant-esque side of it. Here's your Q&A. Okay. Number 1, what is your favorite word?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Maybe achievements, because I think being a pageant girl, even coming last, is an achievement.
And number 2, what is your least favorite word?
Can't. I think we can do anything that we wish to put our minds to.
Question the 3rd, what turns you on or what gets you excited?
Inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
People who inspire me, creativity, and yeah, just people who have a love of things that I do as well.
And flip side, what turns you off?
Having a very boring conversation about the sky.
About the sky in particular, or you just mean
Just the
small
weather.
talk?
Just small
About-
talk,
about-
having conversations about the weather, your day, doesn't interest me. I'm a youth worker. I need a meaningful, actual conversation with someone.
Okay.
To,
All right. I understand that. I can certainly empathize with that. Okay, 5th question. What sound or noise do you love?
do I love? This is going to sound really weird. My dad and I used to love going to Western Sydney International Dragway. So I grew up around cars and bikes, and I love the sound of a Harley Davidson. It just makes me happy.
Wow. And that is a very distinctive sound.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like anything
No.
else out there. You can feel a Harley Davidson
can.
when it drives by, it's setting all
It's
the
like,
alarms.
yeah.
Wow, that's specific. Okay, what sound or noise do you hate?
Nails on a chalkboard.
Okay. Yeah, no one likes that sound. Okay, question 7.
Yes.
If you can have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
I want to fly. I love the sense of freedom.
So obviously you don't have a fear of heights.
No, a little bit, but I feel like it would challenge those.
Okay, all right. Question 8. If you could try any one occupation other than your own, what would you most like to attempt?
I would love to be Prime Minister, just to try it.
Just for a day?
Yeah, just for the day.
We could actually use someone in politics. I don't know if you'd last there. I don't know how you'd feel it, but we could use some common sense in
Yeah,
politics.
probably. But I think it would be really inspiring to actually know what they have to deal with.
That's
no one
true.
actually knows what they deal with on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. No one understands the pressure. No
Yeah.
one understands the societal pull of us constantly thinking that they're terrible.
Yeah, that's true. I've never really thought of it. I've not really had sympathy for politicians before. I think they're up there with lawyers in terms of everyone just hating them.
Yeah.
But if you could try, what's an occupation that you definitely would not like to ever try?
I would hate to be a zookeeper with snakes. I'm terrified of snakes. It's very specific.
So you're okay like with spiders and bugs, but snakes?
Snakes, worms, slugs, anything slippery, leeches, anything like that.
No one likes
No.
leeches, to be fair.
Nope. Nope. Just no. I'm more okay with spiders than I am with snails. That says something, right?
Okay, that definitely does say something. All right, final question, question
Yes.
10. If God exists, what would you like to hear him or her say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome.
Anything other than that?
No, because I have no expectations.
Sounds good
Hope
to me.
for the best, but expect the worst.
Hopefully not when you get to heaven.
Yeah, but that's also how you don't have one of those weird pageant faces where you're super disappointed.
And you burst into tears
Yeah.
and you look like a bad loser.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to just finish with a random question because it just popped into my head. What's your favourite food? Because it seems like I'm on this quest, I think, to find a pageant girl who doesn't love chocolate. Every pageant girl seems to love chocolate. So what is your favourite food?
I was going to say chocolate.
Okay,
and
there it goes.
Especially because I have endometriosis. It's like chocolate is a necessity in my life. But I love sushi
Oh,
as
okay.
well. Chocolate and sushi.
Okay. Probably not at the same time.
No. Sushi and then chocolate.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Thank everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you soon. Hey, it's Adrian. Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. Make sure to subscribe to get details of our new episodes as they drop. and connect with us on social at The Pageant Project. Speak to you next.